All right, we got to talk about this Google thing, because this is classic. A Google document has been going around and it went viral. Some guy, they don't know who it is, some tech guy in Google went off on what culture of diversity, the enforced diversity, and the attempt to bring more women in and all this stuff. And the thing about this document he sent out, an internal memo, is it bleeds goodwill. It's just like, I'm for diversity. I understand all this stuff, but we have to deal with the facts. And he talks about the fact that conservative voices are completely silenced. And there's so much, and I know this for a fact because I wrote the script for an app, and we were dealing with, I guess it was Apple, and the left wing. Buried in there are conservatives, but the left wing culture is so powerful. So this guy sends out a thing saying, at Google, we're regularly told that implicit, unconscious, and explicit biases are holding women back in tech and leadership. Of course, men and women experience bias, tech, and the workplace differently, and we should be cognizant of this, but it's far from the whole story. On average, men and women biologically differ in many ways. Okay, so far, right, there's nothing unexceptional. These differences aren't just socially constructed because they're universal across human cultures. And this is true. There is no culture in which men and women perform the same tasks. None. There never has been. There's never been a culture in which men and women perform the same tasks. There's always a dividing line because men and women are different, because some of them are men and some of them are women. So here's some things that he says are different about women. Women have more openness directed towards feelings and aesthetics rather than ideas. Women generally also have a stronger interest in people rather than things relative to men, also interpreted as empathizing versus systemizing. This is true. Observation shows it. And of course, there are exceptions to every rule. It's always on a bell curve, but he's speaking generally. He says these two differences in part explain why women relatively prefer jobs in social or artistic areas. More men may like coding because it requires systematizing. And even within these tech jobs, comparatively more women work on the front end, which deals with both people and aesthetics. We always ask why we don't see women in top leadership positions, but we never ask why we see so many men in these jobs. These positions often require long, stressful hours that may not be worth it if you want a balanced and fulfilling life. Why do men destroy it? Because status is a big deal to women. To men. Men care a lot about status. It's a primary metric, he says, that men are. It goes on, and all I'm saying about this is it's common sense, right? This is like just absolutely what everybody knows. Of course, they went nuts. This thing went viral. And one of the guys said, a lot more people agree with this than I would like. This is really bad. But classic, I want to read just this one reaction because it's kind of typical of the reactions. This is from a former Google engineer, Erica Baker, who actually got some press by writing about diversity. And she says, I am disappointed but unsurprised by the news that an anti-diversity sexist manifesto is making the rounds at Google. This is not entirely new behavior. Google has seen hints of this in the past, with employees sharing blog posts about their racist beliefs and the occasional internal mailing list question innocently asking if black people aren't more likely to be violent. What is new is that this, which, by the way, has nothing to do with this. What is new is that this employee felt safe enough to write and share an 8-page sexist screed internally. Aside from how they're going to repair the damage of this event, of which there will be much, is so damaging that what this guy said, the most important question we should be asking leaders at Google, and that they should be asking themselves, is why is the environment at Google such that racists and sexists feel supported and safe in sharing these views in the company? It's an attack not just on what he's saying, it's not arguing it, it's an attack on his right to say it and his right to express what I think are normal, common sense opinions. And this was the reaction throughout. This is a false free speech thing. I'm hiding behind the First Amendment, someone else said. It went viral because it's so obviously true. And the way the left works is not just by propagating their nonsense, but also silencing the truth, because the truth is so powerful that it bowls over their nonsense whenever it gets out. So they have to tamp it down and silence it. And this is the stuff that makes people insane. This is the stuff that makes for the blowback that they get, when people start to say, when somebody says to you, hey, I'm for diversity, let women do whatever they want. but they may not want to do all the things that you want them to do. They may, you may not actually, it may not actually be right to write on your daughter's Disney princess book and tell her that she can't be who she wants to be. It may not be right to tell a woman that she should be interested in this when she's just not. That may be, in fact, oppressive in and of itself. That voice has to be silenced. And that's the sort of stuff that creates the fantasy world in which an intelligent woman like Catherine Bigelow can make a movie about 1967 Detroit and think she's making a movie about today. It's only because they will not listen to any other voice that disturbs their fantasy.